Why is everyone talking about AI and why aren't more people learning it? Is it because it sounds complicated? Or maybe because it feels like the kind of thing only experts can do? I'll be honest, for a long time, people assumed AI was only for academics or coders with years of experience. But that's simply not true anymore. The reality is that learning AI has never been more accessible. You don't need a degree, you don't need to spend money, and you definitely don't need to be a math genius. In fact, there are tons of free resources available online that can teach you the basics. Some are so straightforward that even if you've never written a line of code in your life, you can still dive in. I'll be showing you some of these resources in this video. Let's start with some basic understanding. AI isn't just this mysterious thing that only big tech companies use. At its core, AI is really just computers learning to recognize patterns and use them to make decisions. Think of it like teaching a kid to recognize animals. You show them a dog, then another dog, and maybe 5 more dogs until they get it. After enough examples, they can spot a dog even if it's a different breed or color. AI works the same way. It learns by looking at examples, only instead of a kid, it's a program. And instead of dogs, it might be learning to detect spam emails or identify tumors in X-rays. That's really all it is. A system recognizing patterns and using them to do something useful. And what's incredible is that you can learn how to build systems like this yourself. The first step in learning AI is figuring out where to start, and honestly, that can be overwhelming. Google how to learn AI and you'll see hundreds of courses, tutorials, articles, and tools. It's a lot to take in. That's why it's important to start with resources that are beginner-friendly, where things are broken down clearly and you don't feel lost 5 minutes in. For example, there's this course called AI for Everyone by Andrew Ng. It's available on a platform called Coursera, and it's completely free to access. This course is designed for people who have no background in programming or computer science. It's all about understanding the big picture. What AI is, what it isn't, and how it's being used in the real world. It's essentially a crash course in AI that feels more like a conversation than a lecture. The only thing about online courses is that while they're great for giving you structure, they don't give you the full picture. Let's say you take that course on Coursera, and now you know what AI is and what it can do. What's next? That's where hands-on learning comes in. Because at some point, you're going to want to actually try building something. That's where platforms like Kaggle come into play. Kaggle is an online platform where you can find datasets, coding tutorials, and even competitions. It's like a playground for learning data science and machine learning, which are the building blocks of AI. And the best part is that you don't need to install anything on your computer. Kaggle has these interactive notebooks where you can write and run code right in your browser. For beginners, this is incredibly valuable because you can practice without worrying about setting up software or troubleshooting errors. When you first open and use Kaggle, it might feel a little intimidating. There's a lot going on: datasets, projects, competitions. But don't worry, start with the free courses Kaggle offers. They have courses on Python, which is the programming language most commonly used in AI, as well as courses on machine learning. These courses are short and practical. They don't overwhelm you with theory. Instead, they teach you by letting you write small pieces of code and see what happens. You'll get a small activity, write a few lines of code, run it, and just like that, you've trained your first machine learning model, or at least started heading in that direction. It's a small step, but it's the kind of thing that makes you think, wow, I can actually do this. Another tool that's great for beginners is Google Labs. This is less about coding and more about exploring what AI can do in a fun, interactive way. You can choose from create, learn, develop, and play to get more familiar with AI in interesting ways that don't feel overwhelming or boring. For example, let's click on Play and choose this game experiment called Say What You See. I'll click on Launch Experiment. Now, I just need to type what I see. It seems like a simple game, but it's actually teaching me the skill of describing images accurately and in detail, so that I can better prompt AI image generation tools. It doesn't feel challenging at all, but it teaches a massive AI skill. Now, learning AI isn't just about courses and tools, it's also about being part of a community. Why? Because learning on your own can be frustrating. You're going to have questions, you're going to make mistakes, and sometimes you're just going to feel stuck. That's where online communities come in. Places like Reddit have entire forums dedicated to AI and machine learning, where people share resources, ask questions, and help each other out. There's a subreddit called r.learn machine learning that's perfect for beginners. It's full of people who are just starting out, as well as experts who are happy to offer advice. Another great place to ask questions is Quora. If you're wondering, what's the best way to learn AI as a beginner? Or how shall I start my first AI project? Chances are someone else has already asked the same thing, and the answers you'll find are often detailed and practical, written by people who've been where you are. It's worth mentioning that AI is a massive field, and you don't have to learn everything at once. Start small, focus on one thing, like understanding how machine learning works or learning the basics of Python. Once you've got that down, you can move on to more advanced topics, like deep learning or natural language processing. Think of it like building a house. You start with the foundation, then add the walls, the roof, and so on. Trying to do it all at once is just going to overwhelm you. As you start learning, it's easy to fall into the trap of consuming too much information without actually doing anything. You might watch tutorials, read articles, and feel like you're learning, but unless you're applying what you've learned, it's not going to stick. That's why it's important to balance learning with doing. For example, if you're taking a course on machine learning, don't just watch the videos. Pause, open Kaggle, and try to apply what you just learned. Build something simple, like a program that predicts the weather based on historical data. It doesn't have to be perfect. The goal is to get your hands dirty and start experimenting. Learning AI isn't about being perfect. You're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. In fact, it's part of the process. Every time you hit a roadblock and figure out how to overcome it, you're learning. And every time you fail, you're one step closer to succeeding. The key is to keep going. Stay curious, stay patient, and remember that everyone starts somewhere. So, if you've ever thought about learning AI but didn't know where to begin, now's the time to start. With all the free resources out there, you've got everything you need to take that first step. Which of these online resources have you used before to learn more about AI? Will you be trying any of these out after watching this? Let me know in the comments. And if you found this video helpful or interesting, don't forget to like and subscribe for more like this.